For me, I always like to draw her with a playfulness. She's enthusiastic and kind of geeky about racing. So I would always draw her with this kind of intense smile. Like, yeah.
She's a she, and I just didn't want to have sexy, curvy, feminine, girly, whatever it is. I wanted a strong, tough, independent car.
Cruz is the queen of motivation.
You still need my help, Mr. McQueen. You're brittle, like a fossil.
But what I like about Cruz is that she doesn't give up.
I'm really proud of her. Does that sound weird? I think of her as like my daughter or as myself or lots of women that I know. And I'm proud of her, and I'm proud that we got to tell that story.
You know, I never really thought of it as, oh, well, she's a female asterisk character. I always thought, well, she's a character that's very interesting. What are things that I can bring out personally that will make her feel like a real well-rounded character?
We knew that we always wanted a character who was kind of a flip side of the coin to Lightning McQueen. But in very early versions of the movie, when we didn't have the tone of things correct, we didn't really know who Cruz should be yet.
My name is Cruz Ramirez, and I'll be your executive assistant for simulated racing and high-tech design analysis.
They made her kind of a computer whiz at first, and I didn't like that.
Welcome to the XE28 Racing Simulator. Tap the G68 button, that locks you in.
It didn't feel like it would make a lot of sense for her character to end up wanting to become a racer if she wasn't really into racing, if she was more into the whole high-tech computer stuff.
All we need to do is reboot the system and everything will be fine.
It was partly figuring out that she was going to be his trainer.
Cruz Ramirez, the best trainer in the business.
Ready to meet it, greet it,
And defeat it!
all right!
Usually all our side characters grow out of our main characters. So the first question is, what does Lightning McQueen need? He needed someone who would help him grow to learn that it's okay to move on to the next stage in life. And so I thought, well, maybe she plays off of McQueen's worst fears about being old.
These young guys are great and all, but I like a challenge. I call you my senior project.
But then also, every character has something underneath, some sort of mysterious struggle that makes them interesting and makes them not just a type. There's this kind of automatic thing to make every girl character, especially in animation, be the tough girl or the kick-ass girl. That was a really interesting journey on this movie, was to think, like, why can we not tell a different girl story?
I think there's a lot of pressure to make female characters very perfect and flawless, and I really wanted her to be flawed. I really wanted Cruz to have problems that she had to overcome.
They say write what you know, and I don't want to sit around and create a character when I'm just guessing. So, we sat down and spent a lot of time talking with women around Pixar who are the best at what they do, but they had to come through, male-dominated industry in ways that I wouldn't know anything about.
I didn't know there were female racers back then.
We had a story artist on the show named Louise Smythe. She told her story about coming to Pixar and feeling exactly like Cruz.
You show up at Pixar for work on your first day and all these people are amazing artists. And I just started to feel like I wasn't good enough to really fit into the studio. And so I started to really be down on myself. It took a while, but getting used to just that's how everyone feels. And working on my skills helped me kind of come out of that funk that I was in.
Some women had called out a specific line that was in the reels.
What was it like for you when you showed up to your first race? How did you know you could do it?
And he said,
I don't know, I just never thought I couldn't.
Basically that he had just never doubted himself, that had never come into his mind, and that lots of women and people had felt that feeling like they had so much self-doubt and they wished that they knew what it felt like not to have self-doubt.
We decided to start working with the idea that Cruz's issue is her confidence.
Not a racer, just a trainer.
Go ahead and gun it.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was about creating a backstory that made sense. And Cristella's actual backstory was interesting to hear about.
Cristela Alonso plays the voice of Cruz Ramirez.
But Mr. Sterling sent me to work with you, so I'm gonna shadow you while Simon calls out your speed.
I think the moment Cristela became the voice of Cruz, she really came to life.
You stink, Mr. McQueen. What? Use that and stretch it out. Reach for your lunch. Reach for your lunch.
When you have a personality that is that big in real life, it's silly to just not grab onto it and just try and put that into the character.
Note to self, more of that.
A lot of what ended up in Cruz's character was inspired by Cristela and her own personal stories.
The only thing I ever really wanted was to be a racer.
I grew up in a border town in South Texas, and I was in love with stand-up my entire life. And everyone around me would say, oh, that's such a silly dream. For a while, I kind of listened to them. And then one day, I got a job at the comedy club because I thought, if I can't be a comic, I want to make the comics look good. I was the office manager. And when I started doing stand-up, people didn't take me serious because they saw me as an office manager.
I tried for years to become a racer. It was the one thing I wanted more than anything. It was my one shot, and I didn't take it.
I think this scene is very powerful because she's finally speaking her truth, and is a moment where you see the real Cruz, the Cruz that she doesn't show the world. That was probably key in terms of Cruz's dream, was just going into the acting room, closing the door, and just being quiet for a while, and just playing the dialogue.
What was it like for you?
And putting yourself in that situation.
I wish I knew what that felt like. I wish I knew what that felt like.
The beauty of that sequence is that anyone can relate to feeling like you don't belong, to feeling like you're out of place.
You know, we try to put the movie on the screen. In some ways, it's a reflection of the world we have and the world we want to change. But it's also, from another point of view, it has to be the world we want it to be. I want my daughters to come out of that just thinking, I can do anything I want.
She ends up being a kick-ass character. And just acknowledging that confidence is a thing that lots of people struggle with is valuable, especially if that character then can sort of take the next step and push past it.
For me, when I see Cruz, this little spunky car that you think has it together, along the story you find out that she doesn't, and that she really craves that shot. And you start rooting for her because you know that we all have dreams. And she is the symbol of someone that wants to chase after them and accomplish it. That's what you want. That's why you root for her, and that's what I love about her.